donating a lot of his actual clothes from that era to the production for shooting. So the scene when we're in Jim Beach's office towards the end of the film where we're allowing Freddie back into the band, I'm wearing a white leather bomber jacket, I don't know if you remember, with shoulder pads that doubled my width, to the extent where I had to kind of walk sideways through doors. But I think, yeah, that's a big part of it actually, the extravagant costumes, because there's some of them are so outrageous that you have to rise to the level of the costume. You can't be subtle and kind of diminutive in a costume like that. You have to have some kind of blasé, I suppose, or kind of bravado. Yeah.
I will agree. The costumes they helped immensely. I've never worn this many costumes in any job, and I don't think I ever will. And it required quite a large amount of time in fitting. And I thought, you know, this is going to be some great rehearsal time for me. If I'm trying on clothes, which I'm sure Freddie loved to do, let me go get in hair and makeup first. And so I would spend all those countless hours, you know, spinning around and enjoying being as flamboyant and audacious as he was with the people around me. Nothing too controversial or forward with anybody, but if I got a little tired in a costume fitting, I'd be like, well, why hasn't anybody got me a cup of tea yet? You know, things like that, and someone would be like, well, I don't know how to react to this, but I should probably go get him a cup of tea. And they did. And they did. Yeah, they did. But I said, hey, if we're going to be here together, let's try this out, right? Why not?
Question ici.
So Rami, first of all, your movies are just getting better and better. So thank you so much for today.
Work in progress.
So I just wanted to know, regarding today's role, which part of Freddie Mercury's life did you like the most? His ups, his downs, his public, his private life. Which one did you enjoy playing the most?
In the spirit of how Freddie would respond, he'd say, all of me, darling. I liked all of him. I mean, because that's what I found out, is there was not one side or the other. You can say there is, but it's not so black and white, right? It's not binary in that way. He's all at once so many different things, and such a complicated, rich human being with so many complexities. So I think most, to be quite honest, you know, prancing across the stage as Freddie Mercury in some of the concert sequences is just about the most fun you can have. Once you start to embody him. Before that, it's a very, very scary experience.
Question ici.
Thank you again for this movie, and congratulations to both of you. My question is, what was it like working with Brian as a director, and what's going on in your mind when you're telling yourself that you're playing an iconic and legendary rock group? Thank you.
It's nice having Brian May there present the whole time. Not the whole time, but from the very beginning, he came and kind of gave us a real strong sense of support. I remember being in between Brian May and Roger Taylor, and they were watching my first, basically, audition at Abbey Road as Freddie together. And I thought they had seen it before I arrived, so that was a really sticky situation to be in. And Roger, I really couldn't make out what he was thinking, but Brian at one point started to nod and smile, and that meant everything to me. And I feel, you know, for the both of us, he's been quite a lifeline through everything. Yeah, it's as simple as that.
And you certainly had a very different and unique relationship with Brian when he came on set, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Again, it was that as soon as I met him, there was fear and trepidation before meeting him, but he disarms that straight away with his generosity, and he kind of came straight up to us all and gave us a big hug, and you could sense his excitement that the project was being made. It's been a long time in the making, so to actually get in a room and see 4 actors there ready to go, I think filled him with a certain amount of excitement, and just having his support alleviated any feelings of pressure and fear. And he was very present for us all throughout the shoot, not just to give advice about technical things, about playing the guitar or about memories of certain concerts or memories of Freddie, but just to spend time with him as a human being, to be in a room with him, to talk to him, particularly playing him. It just meant that having that connection, speaking to him as an equal, you absorb something of his spirit, and you absorb his gestures and his voice. And there were moments where we'd be talking in a group and I'd be stood next to Brian and we'd be listening to somebody else, and we both just kind of find ourselves doing exactly the same gesture, and I'd turn to him and go, oh, sorry, Brian, sorry. We started to just shadow, or I started to mirror him, which probably freaked him out. But it was just wonderful spending time with a beautiful human being, really.
Well, yeah, me too. Talking to him as Freddie on set was quite an odd experience. And I thought, go back to Rami, but I couldn't. I mean, when I was in it at work, I was in it. Afterwards, trying to go to a restaurant, I could sort of slip out of it and order food as myself, but sometimes it was impossible if it was a long day.
Yes, over there, please.
Thanks for the movie. I loved it. Question, before the set, how long did it take to prepare the characters?
Go on.
I mean, I was told that this was my role about from 2 years ago. So I probably almost like a year and a half prior to shooting, I knew that it was mine. But I never quite believed it, and this was a film that Graham King and Dennis O'Sullivan had the rights to, but there was no studio involved. So I knew they were still shopping it around town. And at that point I thought, a studio can still pick this up and change the actor like that. So I thought I had 2 options. I can just try not to think about it, or I can pull the trigger and start getting ready. So I flew myself to London and started piano lessons and started singing lessons and dialect coaching. And I found someone to help me with the movement choreography named Polly Bennett, who was a lifesaver. And we just started working. And I think my enthusiasm was, I think that may have encouraged something to get the ball rolling, perhaps. And I think it paid off in a way, because I did feel nearly as confident as I needed to be when we started. Otherwise, you can't enter a world like that without feeling that you're coming in with a strong sense of preparation.
And what about you,
Yeah.
the guitar?
Yeah, yeah. It was a bit different. I was attached to the project maybe a month and a half before we shot. So not a huge amount of time to try and turn into a guitar legend. But again, it was just hard work. We were together as a band for a month leading up to the Live Aid, the first week of shooting Live Aid. And that month was spent mostly working and rehearsing on that Live Aid footage. But we'd also hang out together, and you know, we had lots of hours spent in bars and restaurants as part of a bonding process. Yeah, and but also just playing together. When we were on set, we were often playing to a backing track, but when we rehearsed, we plugged in on quite a few occasions to actually play together as a band, because it's really important to have that bond, to hear each other, to hear Ben on the drums, and to be connected to each other. And actually being plugged in like that informed so much of the way that we moved around and interacted with each other. So that was very useful.
Yeah, but you did also have quite an amazing moment with Brian and his own guitar.
I did.
Ha
Yeah. We had some pre-record sessions in Abbey Road in London before filming, and we were all there, and we had a morning of work, and then at lunchtime everyone was sitting having some dinner, and Brian kind of leant over to me and said, "Do you want to go and have a jam?" And I was like, "Yeah, please, yeah," in Abbey Road. And so we went into the studio where some legends have recorded, the Beatles, and
I got to play that piano at one point.
yeah,
Oh.
yeah.
Played a Queen song on that piano.
That's amazing. It's a really special place. You should all try and go.
Yes, be ready.
We sat down, and Brian said, "Do you want to play my guitar?" Now, if you don't know, there is only one of his guitars. He made it when he was a teenager, him and his father, out of old bits of rubbish around the house. So like the neck is made out of a fireplace. There's some bits of his mum's buttons laid into the neck. There's a bit of a knitting needle and a part of a bike saddle, all this kind of thing. It sums him up perfectly. It's eccentric, it's eclectic, and it's genius all at once. And he sat down and just let me play his guitar with him, and he said, "Okay, so what do you want to do?" And at the time we were doing all of the Live Aid stuff, so I said, "Well, let's just work through the concert and do the solos from Live Aid." He was okay, yeah. So we started with Bohemian Rhapsody, and one of the most iconic guitar solos that's ever been. And we're there playing it together, and it's going pretty well. I'm like, "Oh, I'm getting away with this." And we get to the end, and he goes down one path, and I go down another. He's like, "No, that's not."